Hello friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. I'm sure you've seen it everywhere. Stoney Clover Lane letter patches. All the fashion influencers are ordering and wearing that. I know that they just got a collab done with Target and they are pricey. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own letter patches for a fraction of the cost. This entire letter set right here and everything that I'm going to show you how to do with this cost me $350 in total to make all of this, and they are customized to your size and color and everything that you need for, again, a fraction of the cost. Now, this is a clothing dupe, so it's obviously not going to look exactly like the actual patches. The actual patches that Stoney Clover Lane sells is like a terry cloth towel material. This is not that. This is like a velvety, soft HTV. And there is a little bit of dimension into that with glitter HTV. This thing is amazing and it's holding up just great. I actually had a jean jacket laying in my closet or hanging up in my closet, and I've had this thing for years. It was like $20 at Old Navy, and all I did was I just put a little bit of holes, kind of roughed it up a little bit. I cut the bottom hem off my jean jacket and then affixed this onto the back of the jacket, and oh my word, this is now my most favorite clothing item that I own, and I made it. That's amazing. Okay, so for this project, we're just using HTV. I'm not going to do another jean jacket because I didn't have another one on hand. Today I'm just going to do a t-shirt, and I'll show you how to press all of the layers onto a t-shirt. You can also do this on a hat, a bag. I would not use a plastic bag that most Stoney Clover Lanes come with or come in, but a cloth bag, any type of material that you can press HTV on, you can do that with this as well. So you can grab whatever material you want. I just have a t-shirt in hand. The other craft supplies that you are going to need outside of Design Space and a Cricut, and obviously heat press, you're going to need 3 different types of HTV. Now, I am using Poly Tape, which is also Poly Flex. I'm going to link some of their products that I'm using today in the description, or in the video description. Now, as I'm recording this, not a lot of what I'm using is available. So if you have to find a different brand, then that's fine too. Hopefully in the near future, they'll have it all available and ready to purchase. If that happens, I will update the description with where to purchase these exact items. But it is Poly Tape. Today, I'm going to be using a bubble gum. It almost reminds me of bubble gum, but like a bubble gum glitter HTV kind of matches my shirt a little bit. Maybe this is like a mauve. Don't have a color. It doesn't have a color, it just has a number. But anyway, so I'm just going to use my t-shirt, match my glitter up to that. And then the 2 things that you're going to need, and it would be nice if you matched up these next 2 colors, or if you're doing a lighter top layer, then get a white one of this. But I am going to be using Dimension HTV, and it's also known as Puff HTV. So since I'm going to be using a black top layer, I'm going to use black Dimension HTV, also known as Puff HTV. So I have that. And then for the very top layer, what I'm using is called Flock. I had to think about this. It's called Flock HTV. What Flock HTV is there has all the residue, the heat activated stuff on the back, but the top is like this velvety soft, which is the same thing that this pink is. It's super soft. You can use it as a top layer, you can use it as a bottom layer. It has very minimal shrinkage, and I love it. So all you're going to need, I'll repeat it, all you're going to need is 1 sheet of glitter HTV, a sheet of Puff HTV or Dimension HTV, and then a sheet of Flock HTV. Now, again, going back, if you are using a lighter color for your Flock, get white, or try and match it, because if you use the Flock when you're done cutting is very thin. So when you layer it on top of something, if you're using like red, but your Flock is white, you're going to be able to see the red come through that. So that's important for here. Okay, let's get started. We're going to go to the computer. It just shut off, and we're going to design the letters crafty And then after that, I'll go to the heat press and press it for you so you can see what the finished product looks like. All right, let's get started. All right, y'all, are you ready? This design process is super simple. I think the hardest part is doing the iron on when you're at the heat press, ironing on all of these layers, but this particular part is super easy. So to get started, you are going to have to download a font onto your computer. I will link the font that I'm using down in the description of this video, so you'll be able to just click it, download it, and then come back and we can revisit this entire video. But the font that I'm using, it's called, let me see, I should have prepared myself. It's called Varsity Team. And like I said, the design process is going to be super simple. What you see down here at the bottom right here is actually the finished product. Well, it's missing one layer, but we'll get there. Okay, so all you want to do is insert a text box and put any word that you want. It would probably help if you use the word that I was using, just so you know how to follow all of these steps, because this A right here was a little tricky. Okay, so put in the word crafty, and we're just going to make this bigger. There we go. You know what? Let me see if, yep, I still have the patches right here. Let's see. So we can revisit of what this looks like. Okay, and it kind of explains why we have all of these layers. So here is a Stoney Clover patch, and we will slide. How about we do this? Oops. What am I doing? I don't know. We'll slide this over so then we can just keep revisiting it, because it does help to have a frame of reference. Okay, so this is going to be our patch right here, our finished patch. Alrighty. Okay, so do you see, like in the patch, how there has a glitter background, and then there's a smaller like Velcro-ish look to it, and then on top of that is where the terry cloth is. Now, I cannot seem to find this type of material or anything remotely to it. I have tried a few different materials and I failed, so we're just going back to plan A, which is exactly how my jean jacket looks. So, do you see how there's like dimension to it? And essentially that's what I'm trying to create. But for me, what I wanted to do was make all the dimension go on the inside, which is what this white layer is for. So when you have the word crafty, this is just in its normal form. But I want, just like on the outside of the glitter right here, how it's a little bit more bulky and meatier. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So in Design Space, when you have it all ready, if you have your crafty already put up, go into offset and then let this load. Okay, do you see how the outside blue line just loaded, but it's like super beefy, everything's connected, and that's not what I want. I want each individual letter to be its own letter. I don't want it all connected. So all I'm doing is I'm going to just drag this around, drag this down until they start to, there we go. See how there's just a little bit of separation here? That's exactly what I'm looking for. In the original one that I have, it's a little bit less, but it's fine. I actually like the way it looks right here. Now, unclick this weld offsets because you don't want to weld them together. So unclick that and then press apply. So now you have a black version. Oop, you know what? I actually am missing that small little A portion. So let me drag this down a little bit. I'm going to delete all of this. Okay, and then we're gonna try again because I wanna make sure and have just a little bit of that A, like just like the original, which is probably why I did a little bit less last time. Here we go. Okay, just a little bit of the A. And then make sure this is unchecked as weld offsets and then press apply. Okay, now don't delete this, just drag this away. Just drag this down. Now this right here is our finished bottom glitter layer. This is the beefy glitter portion of the A. So I'm going to change this to pink because that is what I'm going to be using for wherever, right here. I'm going to change it to pink just because that's the pink that I'm going to be using, and it'll just remind me that it's pink. Select all of those and press attach. Okay, we're going to drag that over. Don't worry about sizing just yet because we will fix that in a little bit. Okay, now go back to your original text box. Bring that back up. Okay, the next thing that you're going to want to do is see how this one right here is our top layer. And it's a little bit thinner. If I'm going to bring this up, I'm going to arrange this to the front and I'm going to bring this up. Do you see how it's just a little bit thinner than this word? So what we are going to do is then press the offset button. And instead of going to the right, there is this line right here think of it as the number line. Everything that's to the right is the positive and everything to the left is the negative. And the negative means it's going to go in. So what you want to do is slide this bar just very little. And sometimes it's the color that I have. If you changed, okay, you can see it. If we change the color, hold on, let me change this color. Change this to white and see if we can see it a little bit better. And okay, you can see it a lot better if you do white. Okay, so like I said, if you're going to the left on the slide bar, it's going to start going in, and that's exactly what you want. But I don't want it to be too thin. I just want it to be a little bit thinner than what we have right now. So I'm just going to put this, let's go right here, and I'm going to go 0.5 and press tab. Okay, see how it's just a little bit thinner. I mean, we're slicing hairs with this, but I'm still going to do it anyways. Okay, make sure that thing is pressed, that weld offset, there's no check there, and then press apply. Okay, so then drag this over. It's going to now be your top layer. Drag this over and put it underneath that bulky of the pink. Make sure and press attach. Okay, and then this is going to be the black layer. This is going to be your that flock. I keep forgetting the name of this, but it's flock. So this is going to be your flock. We're going to keep it black. Now, going back to the original text box, we are going to do the middle layer, the sandwich layer. We are going to make it really, really, really small. And the reason why we're doing this is because when you put, what you're going to do essentially on the heat press is you're going to iron this on. Then you're going to iron the dimension on top of that. I actually am going to do 2 layers of dimension. I did it originally with only 1 layer, and I didn't like the not enough dimension that it was giving. So I actually do 2 layers of that, put that on top of each other, and then this on top of this. I don't remember what I was going with that. Oh, I do now. Okay, so when you layer the flock onto the dimension, what you're wanting the flock to do is kind of wrap around your letters. It might be hard to tell on the computer, but you can see how there is just a little bit of dimension. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see. Okay. You can see how there is some dimension, and it kind of like the F right here, and the flock kind of hugs the dimension and really does kind of hug it and make it look really cute and has dimension. Okay, so with that being said, you're going to want to make it really small, and because you're going to need the outside flock to be able to have enough room. Remember, this flock does not shrink, so you'd want it to there to be enough size difference to where it does have enough room to fall over your foam. Hopefully I didn't lose you there. In my brain, it all makes sense. Okay, so all you're going to do is go into your offset and wait for it to finish doing its load thing. Okay, and then you're going to drag this to the left until it gets pretty small. Now, do you see how this right here went away? And then if you go back through, and I tried it originally, and this is where I did it originally, and I tried it where this was still here. This right here is not enough size difference between A and B for it to fall appropriately. It didn't fall at all actually, and it kind of made a huge mess. So what you want to do is just make it even smaller. Don't worry, we'll fix that A here in a second. But make this, oop, that's too small. Okay, there we go. Make it, and it's minus 0.292 is what the size is for that. And then press apply. Make sure that weld thing is off. Press apply. Okay, the original text box, just click that and we're going to hide that. Okay, now again, if you don't, there's nothing here. If you don't add something into that, when you go and cut it and then you layer it on there, there's going to be no dimension here and it will look funny. All you have to do is just press shapes and we'll insert a square. That one right here. Now I'm going to match the square up to the same size as the inside of the R. And I'm not quite sure why Design Space deleted the inside of the A. They just did, but it's fine because we're going to fix it. Okay, so I'm going to make it the same size, like the same width, height. Yeah, it would be the height. The same height as the R, just the inside portion of the R. And then I'm going to drag this over to the A and just place it right in the middle where it should be. And then taking the A, to take your mouse, click and then drag and select both of those and then press weld. Okay, and now it's there. And so when you cut it, it's going to cut like everything on the outside and then one little inside piece. Okay, then you're going to take this and then press attach. Now, earlier, I did say that I have 2 layers of dimensions in there. I did it with one and I didn't like I already got rid of my testing thing. I wish I wouldn't have because it would have helped on this. But I did only do one originally and I just didn't like it. Kind of, when you add the flock in there, it kind of flattened the dimension and that was kind of poopy. So I am going to duplicate this and I'm going to do it twice. And I'm going to delete all the original stuff. Okay, now what you want to do is select all. So for the Mac users, it's Command A. And then press Align. And then Center. Okay, for a shirt, I like to do 11.5. And I am using a large, I'm pretty sure. Let me see here. What size shirt am I using? Yep, I'm using a large Bella Canvas shirt and I am going to do it at 11.5. Now, the great beauty part about doing a DIY like this is that, you know, when you're buying the patches already made on the website, I think they're only a certain size. You can't get it customized or, you know, to your liking. So if you wanted to do bigger, you could do bigger. If you want to do smaller, you could do smaller. So that's the beauty of this. So I'm going to drag this down and I'm going to make sure and change, because these 2 inside pieces, although they're going to be black, they're going to be a totally different material. So I'm going to select both of those and I'm going to change it to a different, like just a different color. So then when we go into the cut screen, it will be together and the black will be on a separate sheet. So with HTV, remember, always remember, do not be me and forget. You want to select all and flip horizontally. I always do this here. And I will show you, you can do it in the cut screen, but I always like to try and remember to do it here, because then if I forget in the cut screen, I can do it one more time. Y'all, I have messed up so many times, thought I did it here, wasn't looking, and messed up gangs of HTV just by not remembering how to do this. Don't be me, and remember to flip. Okay, so I always do it here, but if you go into make, then right here, this little button says mirror. Right now it's already mirrored because I did it in the Design Space area. But if you go to mirror this, then it'll go back to its normal function. So if you forgot to mirror in Design Space, then this is like your second opportunity to remember to mirror. Okay, so Design Space is having me cut the flock first, and then 2 things of dimension, and then 1 thing of glitter. So cut those and then come back to me when those are done cutting, and then we'll go over to the heat press and we'll finish making this shirt. What felt like eternity for me. I had some technical difficulties with this dimension stuff. I had cut this thing like 4 times already, and it was not like on a deep enough setting. So I just got frustrated. I said, you know what? I'm going to cut this at the deepest setting. So I did it at poster board. Probably shouldn't do that because now I have missing letters and just, it's been a nightmare. But hopefully you have better luck with this puff vinyl than I did. I know my blades are definitely not brand new in any of my Cricuts, so maybe that had something to do with it, but woo, I was good. Luckily, we don't really need the out parts of this really, because what's important is your back layer and that front layer. So this stuff right here shouldn't be too bad or hard to do. Okay, so the trick for HTV and doing it on a shirt is I always fold it in half and then take my heat press to it. You can see down at right here, there is a line that's right here. That is the actual middle of this shirt. And then what I always do with HTV is I take my design, put it from end to end, make sure that it's centered on the very top too, and then I just pinch the plastic transfer tape and see how there is a little crease here and then crease at the bottom. I always do a top and bottom, because if you put a line down and it's directly on the center but it's like this and you don't have a line right here to match it up with, then you'll think it's center or level too. So I always do top and bottom. I always do 3 fingers, and then I line up those crease marks that I made with the shirt. There is that. And I'm looking for my tape. You don't have to do it with this because, well, I guess it just depends on the brand of HTV that you use. But I always like just to do an added little piece of tape, the heat resistant tape, just so it doesn't go sliding around and move on me as I transfer it over to the heat press. Okay, so at the heat press, we are not going to do full press times on anything but the top layer. So all you want to do is do light, even presses just to make sure that your layers are on there. And then the final press, we're going to do 1 hard press, making sure that all the layers are on there. The other optional piece of equipment that if you could use is this small little heat press. I'm going to use that at the very end, and I'll show you why. We're just going to take this over to the heat press. And I'm going to do it just for 2 seconds. Very light. And then it's not fully on there. You want to make sure that when you rip the carrier sheet off, that it's on there, but you don't want to do it too much because then you'll start making the HTV shrink. Okay, we're just gonna pull that off. Ooh, I love that. I love that. Okay, I'm not going to transfer the shirt off the heat press. We're just gonna leave it on there. I moved you over a little bit so you could see, but I have not moved the shirt at all. Using 1 layer of your foam, your dimension, center it onto the top layer. Tape, my tape there. Okay, and then this puff stuff that I'm using the carrier sheet is not sticky. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more tape just to make sure it does not go sliding around anywhere. Okay, I'm gonna put a piece of paper down just so it doesn't ruin my glitter HTV. This stuff I'm gonna press for a little bit longer than the glitter one, only because it takes that long generally. This stuff is a cold or a warm peel, so we're not going to peel the carrier sheet right away. We are going to wait until it cools down for a few seconds, and then we're going to warm peel it. Okay, so this stuff is a little bit more finicky. So I'll make sure, especially because I cut through my carrier sheet, I'm gonna make sure and take off everything. Also with my little weed tool, I'm gonna go in between the layer, and it's okay if it's not tacked down all the way, because like I said, at the very end, we're gonna make sure that it's all tacked on there really good. But all I'm doing is going in between the HTV layer and pulling up. You probably would have less difficulties if you didn't go through the carrier sheet like I did. But just making sure that I'm getting just that carrier sheet pulled off, because if you don't do this, then on the next step, it will be ruined. All right, so there's one. Now, the same thing that you did with the top layer, what you want to do is center this onto, make sure that you're doing it from top to top. Since I had so many issues with that carrier sheet and I cut through that, I just individually plucked them out and centered them onto the original black puffy layer, and then used heat resistant tape to hold them into place. Gonna add paper. Make sure not slide around when you're doing this, because you don't want to knock those layers off. Okay, pressing it again for another 15 seconds, and then again, warm peel this. Not hot peel, warm or cool. Now for the final layer, we're almost done. Same thing that you've done with everything else. Here is that flock. You can tell it has like a little bit of fuzz to it. I love this stuff. Okay, so I probably should have used one that didn't have a sticker on it. Oh, it peels right off. Perfect. Perfect. This is kind of the important part. Make sure that your entire thing lays over the top of your design. It would probably be easier if it wasn't black on a dark color. Try to use my phone to see through carrier sheet, and I can't. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to cut really close to the edge. Don't cut your decal, but just really close to the edge. I'm going to do it on all four sides. Just like that, how there's no like extras anywhere. It's very close, and that'll weigh. I can see the glitter, and it looks pretty centered on all of the, using tape, this flock stuff, because it's fuzzy, it's no longer sticky. Okay, doing that, putting that down, and doing one final press at 320 for 15 seconds. Okay, this flock is a cold or a warm peel as well, so don't get overly excited and rip right away. Flock tears very easily too, so if you are getting a little bit of resistance with it pulling up, stop what you're doing and wait. Okay, now that it's cooled down a little bit, again with your weeding tool, this has been really helpful for me, especially by getting this top layer off. I'm going to make sure and only take the carrier sheet and then get underneath it in between the carrier sheet and the flock and kind of release the flock from the carrier sheet. Remember, the flock will tear very easily. Okay, so we are almost finished. Now, that took a little bit longer than I wanted to. The flock was very stuck on to that carrier sheet. Okay, so giving it one more good final press. So like that, and then we're going to do another 320 for 15 seconds again. That's just to make sure that everything is good and stuck on there, because as I was pulling,
the layers were coming apart just a little bit. So we just want to make sure that it's really good and stuck on there. Okay, and the next thing that you're going to want to do, if you have it, if not, then this is fine. And actually, I do like the way that it's all hugging it really well. But if there are spaces where it's not hugging, when my original leather jacket or jean jacket, not all the areas were hugging the Dimension HTV very well. So all I did was take my little heat press guy with the carrier sheet with it, and then I just went around the edges of where the HTV, the Flock HTV and the Dimension HTV meet, so it is hugging it, and then there is a lot of dimension for it. But I don't think we need that today. It turned out amazing. Look at that right there. I mean, gorge. It is velvety soft. There's some glitter. There's some dimension. Absolutely amazing for a fraction of the cost. This is amazing. All right, y'all. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you later. Bye.